My name is Aaron Hale, Terran Systems Engineer, 3rd class, attached to the United Earth Diplomatic Corps. Which sound impressive until you realize it mostly meant the guy who fixes things when alien tech stops working and nobody wants to admit they don't understand it. That's how I ended up on Sereth Prime. The Sereti were tall, willowy beings with opalescent skin that shimmered faintly depending on mood and health. Their eyes were dark and reflective like polished obsidian, and their voices carried a harmonic undertone that made every word sound ceremonial, even when they were complaining about malfunctioning gravity nodes. Their society revolved around hierarchy, ritual, and, above all, intent. Words mattered. Promises mattered. Casual speech did not exist. Humanity knew this. I knew this. Which is why what I said next was so catastrophically stupid. The Imperium had invited a small Terran delegation to witness the renewal convergence, a ceremonial reaffirmation of Sereti alliances. It was a huge honor. Also incredibly boring for anyone who wasn't a noble or a historian. I was there purely because one of the palace's environmental stabilizers kept glitching, and apparently humans had a reputation for making broken things behave out of spite. After 12 hours of ceremonies, chants, and light displays that probably held deep cultural meaning, my feet hurt, my head hurt, and I'd had enough alien incense to last a lifetime. That's when Princess Zerathiel approached me. She was the Emperor's only daughter, radiant, poised, and terrifying in the way absolute authority often is. Her ceremonial mantle floated behind her, threaded with living light. When she spoke, the room subtly leaned in. "Human Aaron Hale," she said, inclining her head slightly. "My advisors inform me you restored the stabilizer without replacing its core." I shrugged. It just needed a different feedback loop. Happens a lot with closed systems. Her eyes narrowed, not in suspicion, but interest. "You altered it without authorization." "Yeah. Guess I'm lucky you didn't have me executed." A ripple of unease moved through the nearby courtiers. Sereti humor was non-existent. The princess studied me for a long moment. "You do not fear death?" I laughed, tired and stupid. "Sure I do. But if I worried about it all the time, I'd never get anything done." Something about that answer seemed to amuse her. She gestured toward the high balcony overlooking the city, a breathtaking expanse of crystalline towers and drifting lights. "Walk with me, human." I obeyed, acutely aware that every noble eye followed us. We spoke of trivial things at first: Earth's oceans, Sereti's sky reefs, the differences between human improvisation and Sereti design philosophy. She was sharp, curious, and far more informal than I'd expected. At some point, she asked, "Do humans always speak so freely to those above them?" I smiled wryly. "Only when we forget ourselves." She tilted her head. "And have you forgotten yourself now?" I should have said yes. Instead, I joked. "Well, if I start acting too carefully, you might think I'm trying to impress you." The corner of her mouth lifted. "And are you?" I waved a hand dismissively. "Hardly. You'd have to be looking for a reckless engineer with no political sense and an unfortunate tendency to speak his mind." Her gaze didn't waver. "In Sereti tradition," she said softly, "such honesty is prized in a life bond candidate." I froze. "I'm sorry, what?" Her smile faded, replaced by something thoughtful. "I believe you intended humor." "Yes. Very much so. That was a joke." The princess turned to face me fully. "Explain." My stomach dropped. "It's just humans joke about things we'd never seriously propose. Especially when we're nervous." Silence stretched between us. Then she nodded once. "I see." Relief flooded me, until she added, Then allow me to respond seriously, as my station requires. That was when the world tilted. Middle, when words become commitments. The announcement came the next cycle. Without warning. Without clarification. Without me. The Emperor's herald addressed the court in a voice amplified by harmonic resonance. By declaration of Princess Zirathiel of the first line, the human Aaron Hale has been named as a considered bonded consort, pending right of mutual intent. The chamber erupted. Sarati nobles flared in color, shock, outrage, fascination. Human diplomats went pale. I nearly passed out. I was escorted to a private chamber before I could form a coherent objection. My diplomatic superior, Ambassador Reyes, burst in minutes later. "What did you do?" she hissed. "I made a joke," I said weakly. She stared at me. "You don't joke about bonding with alien royalty." I didn't know it worked that way. Reyes ran a hand through her hair. "The Sarati don't have casual speech. If you speak a possibility aloud, it's considered an opening of intent." "Then why didn't anyone warn me?" She gave me a look. "We assumed basic survival instincts would cover it." The right of mutual intent was ancient. It didn't force marriage, but it did bind both parties to a period of exclusive consideration. Withdrawal was dishonorable, not illegal, just devastating. To her. I was summoned to the princess's solar chamber that evening. Zirathiel stood near the light well, her mantle dimmed. She dismissed the guards when I entered. "You are distressed," she said. "That's one word for it. You fear the bond." "I fear what it means for you," I said honestly. "I never intended to put you in this position." She studied me carefully. "Among my people, intent may awaken unexpectedly. Your words were unguarded, but they were not false. They were flippant. And yet," she said, stepping closer, "they revealed your nature. You do not posture. You do not seek power. You do not hide behind ritual." "That's because I don't belong in it." She reached out, stopping just short of touching my hand. "That is precisely why you do." Over the following weeks, I learned more about the Sarati than I ever wanted. I learned how constrained Zirathiel's life had been, every gesture measured, every relationship evaluated for political worth. I learned how rare it was for anyone to speak to her without fear or ambition. And she learned about humanity, about our wars, our mistakes, our ridiculous optimism, about how we joked in the face of annihilation and built hope out of scrap metal and stubbornness. We argued. We laughed. We challenged each other. And somewhere along the way, the joke stopped being a joke. The Emperor summoned me near the end of the consideration period. "You may withdraw," he said calmly. "But understand this. My daughter has chosen you not for novelty, but for truth. If you flee now, you will wound more than pride." "I never meant to hurt her," I said. "I know," he replied. "That is why you were chosen." Ending. Humanity, taken seriously, the right took place beneath the open sky. No chains. No vows of ownership. Only mutual acknowledgement. Zirathiel stood before me, luminous in the twilight. Her voice carried across the gathered crowd. "A joke reveals truth when spoken without armor," she said. "This human did not seek me. He did not plan for me. He did not deserve me by conquest or claim." She turned to me. He simply spoke as he was. I swallowed hard. When it was my turn, I didn't joke. "I didn't come here to change your world," I said. But humans have a habit of doing that by accident. We're not graceful. We're not ancient. We say the wrong thing at the wrong time. A few Sarati nobles shifted uneasily. But we mean what we say when it matters. And I mean this. I'll stand with you, not because of power or duty, but because you saw something real in me and didn't turn away. The right concluded. The bond was sealed. Across the Imperium, reactions ranged from outrage to awe. Some called it scandal. Others called it prophecy. Humanity called it terrifying. But something changed after that. Other species began speaking more freely with humans, testing jokes, probing intent. They found something unexpected. We didn't always know the rules, but we meant our words. And when we made promises, accidental or not, we kept them. As for me, I learned to think before I spoke. Mostly. Zirathiel still teases me sometimes, her eyes gleaming. You realize, she says, that one careless joke altered the course of 2 civilizations. I smile, taking her hand. Yeah, I reply. Next time, I'll try sarcasm instead. And she laughs, truly laughs, a sound once unheard in the Sereti royal halls. Because humanity's greatest weapon was never strength or strategy. It was sincerity, spoken without fear. Even when it started as a joke. Years later, historians would argue about the exact moment the Imperium changed. Some claimed it was the signing of the Concord of Open Intent, when Sereti diplomats abandoned layered ritual language in favor of direct speech, an unprecedented move inspired by human negotiation styles. Others said it was the first time a Sereti noble laughed in a public forum, unguarded and unashamed. But I knew the truth. It happened quietly, on a balcony overlooking Sereth Prime, when an alien princess leaned beside a human engineer and admitted something no Sereti ruler had ever said aloud. I am afraid, Zirathiel told me, her voice softer than the city's glow below. Not of loss, not of death, but of choosing wrongly. I looked at her, at the being who had once terrified entire star systems with a single command, and squeezed her hand. Then you're already choosing better than most rulers, I said. Fear means you care about the people who'll live with the consequences. She studied me, that familiar, thoughtful silence settling between us. Humans normalize uncertainty, she said. You treat it as a companion, not an enemy. We don't really have a choice, I replied. The universe keeps throwing surprises at us. Joking about them just makes it survivable. Her eyes shimmered faintly, Sereti amusement, mixed with something deeper. Once, I believed your words were reckless. And now I believe they are brave. The Imperium did not collapse because of me, nor did it become human. Instead, it softened. Rituals gained room for intent. Titles bent to merit. Power learned to listen instead of command. Other species noticed. Alliances deepened. Wars were avoided, not because humanity was strong, but because we were honest. Painfully so. As for the princess and the engineer, we never pretended it was destiny or prophecy. Just 2 minds from different worlds who chose, every day, to speak plainly and stand together. Sometimes, when visiting diplomats ask how it all began, Zirathiel gestures toward me with regal mischief. He challenged my court with a declaration of interest. I shake my head. I made a bad joke. She smiles, still luminous, still terrifying in her own way. On Sereth Prime, she says, we learned that jokes may carry truth before courage catches up. And across the stars, humanity earned a new reputation. Not conquerors, not saviors, just the species reckless enough to speak honestly to gods and queens, and strong enough to stand by the words, even when they were never meant to change the universe, but did anyway.